So how's everybody? Good? Kind of light attendance today, huh? So I've got a relatively brief lecture today on competition, and then Thursday is another relatively brief lecture on market or industry research. And then after that, we're going to spend the next 2 weeks working on our projects in class. I think that's right, isn't it? Yeah. So that I think I'm still missing one or two links for websites. Most of you have sent me the website link at this point, so that's good. I will give you all feedback on that next week when we break out into groups to work on our projects. So today's lecture is on competitive research. So, kind of like customer vignettes, I like for you guys to be able to develop competitor profiles. It's a similar kind of thing to the customer vignette. It's one page, kind of summarizing a lot of the relevant facts about the competitor. So, first question you want to ask is, who are your competitors? Do they vary by segment? So, if you have, different customer segments that you target or different products that you offer, your competitors rather, may be different depending on who the customer segment is or or what the product segment is. And then make sure to think about substitutes too. So if we look at the rickshaw project, for example, there's not another rickshaw project. There's not another rickshaw competitor on campus, but substitute competitor is walking. So it may not be a direct competitor, but rather another way to achieve the same thing that is your main competition. So what do you need to know about competitors? You need to know about the specific products and services they offer, about major strengths and weaknesses, and about how you plan to differentiate yourself from them. So, specifically talking about products and services, you want to know about image and general impressions of the competitors' products and services. You want to know what their main features and benefits are. You want to know what promotions the competitor offers, what their price point is that they're offering the product or service at, and what advertising media they advertise on to try and reach customers. As far as major strengths and weaknesses are concerned, a lot of times the strength of your competitors is going to be an existing customer base. Since all of you are just starting your businesses right now, the competition is already established and already has a customer base. So that's one thing that's a strength for them. Usually they have better financial resources than new startups do, and they may have particular strength in certain product or service niches. This is an example of a customer profile that some of my students from Cincinnati developed a little while back. The competitor is a company called Everest. This customer segment that they targeted was professionals in Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky. And the specific product or service that they offered was commercial real estate. So the image, they offered highest quality service possible to clients so they can meet their current needs as well as helping direct them for the future. Features and benefits, the students wrote some stuff up about how many properties they represented in Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky, and other property offerings that they had. Their pricing, basically 3% or 6%, depending on whether they represent one side or both sides of a deal. Advertising media they advertised on were word of mouth, Facebook, LinkedIn, and the Yellow Pages. Major strengths and weaknesses. The strength that the students identified there was the installed base of customers, financial resources that the company had, the fact that they'd been in business since 1987, and the fact that they had a broad range of properties and provided excellent service. One of their weaknesses was that their advertising was reliant on... Oh, God, I'm really sorry about that. What's that? No. I need to stay here. The main weakness was that their advertising was reliant on word of mouth very heavily, and Facebook, and they only had 72 likes on Facebook. They found that Everest's target differentiation focus was to provide exceptional customer service and develop long-term relationships, and the way that they decided they were going to differentiate themselves from Everest was shared services that they offered to small businesses, flexible financing, and potential partnership with small business-oriented companies. So this is the format that I want competitor profiles in. One page covering who the competitor is, what the product is that they offer, the kind of general image that you have of that competitor, what the major features and benefits of their product are, what their price is, their advertising points, major strengths and weaknesses, and then how you're going to differentiate from them. Yes?
Do you hang these on your blackboard?
Do I what?
Do you hang these on your blackboard?
Do I hang these on my blackboard?
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Blackboard, CSUB, share, site thing.
They're all on the course documents section of Blackboard. So they're all here for lecture materials. So today's lecture slides are competitive research. There's also a competitor profile document down here that just is the one-page template. Okay. I haven't decided yet. It depends. Like, really, the most important thing is your customer vignettes and your webpage. It depends on how far each team gets. So I'm not as concerned about the number of competitor profiles right now.
Like 1 to 2, 10.
Huh?
Not like 10.
No, not like 10. Places to find information about competitors. Mgmt Online and ProQuest are two particularly good resources. I'll show both of those briefly right now. If you go to the library section of the website here and go to the database list, databases by title, and then M for Mgmt, Mgmt Online. This gives you a free text box where you can search on the company name. So Everest, for example. There's a number of different companies named Everest. In order to narrow down to just that Everest that we were looking at in the competitor profile, we go to advanced search and narrow down by state to just look at the state of Ohio. And company name Everest. And that Everest is not in here. So Merchant Online is hit and miss for finding competitor information. Another sometimes better resource is to look at Experian reports on ProQuest. So if we go back to the database list and go to P for ProQuest, type in Everest. Oh, actually type in company name organization, Everest. Look up companies and organizations. And once again, this gives various Everests that you can then narrow down to the one that you're looking for. Social media is another great place to go for finding information about competitors. So taking a look at their web page, taking a look at their Facebook pages, their Instagram, Twitter feeds, all good sources of information. Google searches are actually a pretty good source of information as well. I've listed a couple of helpful hints on Google searches here, links that you can click on. If we look at this first one here, so start with the basics, search using your voice, choose words carefully. There's some nice tips here for how to narrow down your Google searches. Same thing on the other three. So you can use Google to search social media, for example. If you put an @ sign in front of a search word, so that uses the Google search engine to just search certain types of social media. Hashtag searches are also helpful. Excluding words from a search. If you put a - sign in front of a word, it will exclude all Google search results who have that result in it. So, as an example here, if you wanted to find information about the animal jaguars instead of the car Jaguar, you would type in Jaguar speed and then -car, and then it would take away all the websites that had the word car in there somewhere and just give you the ones that had Jaguar and speed. Quotations are always useful. The asterisk as a wild card is a good resource to use to broaden your searches to include any of a number of different terms that the asterisk can represent. There's a number of other tips here as well to help you do better Google searches. And then I've also given sort of two non-Google sources, Lifehack. You got sort of 20 tips on how to do better Google searches here. And finally, Digital Trends. This is another nice list of all kinds of different characters that you can use to narrow and refine your searches on Google for competitors or for anything else you're searching on for Google for that matter. So those are particularly good resources. ProQuest, like I said, is a good resource, especially because it has Experian credit report profiles of pretty much every company in the world. So you can at least find the Experian report on ProQuest and find out the number of employees that a competitor has, the basic revenues, the name of the owner, their website address, things like that. Chambers of commerce and industry associations are also good sources of information about competitors, and just asking around, just asking people about the competitor. A lot of word of mouth. Word of mouth is really good for finding information on competitors as well. So that's the first half of what I wanted to talk about today. The second half is market positioning maps. It's a tool that a lot of you are probably familiar with from marketing classes. It's one of the most common ways of comparing competitors in an industry. And the most important thing about market positioning maps is that you have differentiable, non-obvious X and Y axes. So some of the things that you could some of the things that you could use for X and Y axes are price and quality, if they're on the same axis, product selection and product features, distribution network, resource bases, business model. All of those are good to use. All of those are good to use as criteria for the X and Y axes in a market positioning map. So this is an example of the same company that did the Everest competitor profile. This is a market positioning map that they did, comparing themselves to the competition. So they chose breadth of services for one axis and types of properties represented for the other axis. And basically, they offered, Impact was the name of their company. Impact, their company, offered only a single type of property, but they offered some additional services than some of the other competitors. Everest offered less services here. CBRE, Cushman & Wakefield offered about the same number of services, and then Caldwell Banker and Colliers International offered more services and offered more different types of properties. So one example of comparing competitors. It's important when you write up the market positioning map to explain why and what you put in the map. So breadth of services explained. This is they had in one column what their company offered, in another column what other companies offered, and then explained at the bottom for how they decided to position companies on the y-axis. So brokerages that offered more services outside of just representing clients were placed higher on the y-axis. And then they did the same thing for the x-axis. They explained what their company offers, explained what other companies offer, and then gave an explanation of how they positioned different companies on the x-axis. That, after 20 minutes, is what I wanted to go over today already. I want to discuss briefly here the two topics that we went over, but we're gonna get done a little early today, no matter what. If we go to competitor profile first, um, so these are the basic categories that I want in the competitor profile. Let's do one as an example for one of your projects. So I talked about the rickshaw project before. Anybody want to volunteer your project for this example? Yes.
Beer delivery service.
Okay, so what would are there other people that deliver beer?
Yeah, there's one other company that's similar.
Yeah?
Yeah,
So what's the name of it?
it's called Beer Runner.
Beer Runner?
Yeah.
Do they what customers do they focus on, or what do they just deliver beer? Do they
It's beer and wine and spirits, so yeah, it's kind of like a pretty broad customer range, I would say.
Okay. So, broad segment, beer, wine, spirits, delivery. What's their image? So when you think of them, what do you think of as an association? Huh?
What do you mean? Like, I'm not sure like, what kind of answer they just,
I would think that maybe like if you need beer quickly, something, if you're like a party, you're expected, from this company to deliver beer
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
So,
Yeah.
huh?
like a rushed convenience service, like very similar to Uber.
Rushed convenience service. Okay. What are some of the features and benefits that they offer?
Kind of like what you just said.
Huh?
Kind of like what we just said. You don't have to leave wherever you're at. You can get your product that you want. You don't have to drink and drive. It kind of dissuades from driving.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. So this is good.
get product without having to leave home. Pricing. Do you have any idea how much they charge as a premium? They charge a certain percentage, or?
Yeah, it has to do with the mileage, so there's like a mileage range for the delivery charge, and then they have, slightly more than what you would pay at like a grocery store for the beer.
Mm-hmm.
Not much, but it's close.
Delivery charge based on,
It's like paying for pizza.
what's that?
It's like almost like pizza.
Okay.
Paying pizza delivery is a little bit not strong.
Delivery charge based on distance, slight product markup. Advertising media. Have you seen at all? Are they like?
They're app based. So they're like an application that's on mobile app.
Okay.
I haven't seen them advertise on TV or anything else.
Mobile app.
Yeah.
Okay. What are their strengths or weaknesses?
Strengths would be convenience and quickness.
Not a lot of competition.
Yeah, there's very few competitors, I would say.
How about we say that they're a first mover?
Okay.
Because, I mean, there's not much competition right now, but you're planning on being additional competition for them. So one advantage that they have is that they were there first. People already know their name. People are already more familiar with the app. So maybe first mover status. And how do you want your company to be different from them?
I would say keep it more simple and easier to use. I've looked at their site a little bit myself, and it's they offer probably more different products, but I think that's the reason why a lot of their prices are higher.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of going to limit it mostly to just beer instead of alcohol and wine and all that other stuff.
I think too that maybe we're kind of leaning more toward college students, just because ourselves are college students. And
Uh-huh.
also being more simple as just beer, I feel like, I don't know if anybody thinks otherwise, I feel like college students drink more beer.
Uh-huh.
I think that would be a lot more simpler than giving us options, oh, let's put some liquor,
Okay. So you're going to try and keep the service simpler and focus just on beer, and then focus on the college student market. Okay. Pretty good. Pretty good. That's more or less what I want for the profile of Beer Runner. I want similar profiles for the competitors in the other ventures in here as well. Let's talk a bit about market positioning maps now. So, need my eraser again. So, real simple concept, y-axis and an x-axis. And we need two criteria that are going to allow us to differentiate between companies. So let's choose maybe the due dates.
Yeah.
So who's your competitor for due dates?
What do you mean?
Who's the competition?
You mean the buyer or like?
Well, who else would buyers buy from instead of you?
Lots of people in like Middle East,
Huh?
more like people in Middle East.
Say again, I'm sorry.
People in Middle East.
People who?
There's like a country from Middle East.
I still didn't understand.
Okay, saying like the people from the Middle East, exactly, a lot of people buy it.
From a list?
Middle East.
Oh, from the Middle East.
Yeah.
So, are there other competitors from the Middle East that also offer
Yeah, here, United States, we start like.
date imports, basically?
Yeah, here for me.
Okay. So, what are some of the characteristics that are different between your company and some of the other ones that do this?
The delivery and well, about the project, like this. If you try the one, they have the one in California.
Say again.
They already have it here in California. But if you try the mine, it's different 100%. It's like this, better than you. People more like it.
People like what more?
And Saudi Arabia, exactly. The one created from Saudi
Oh, okay. So, the dates from Saudi Arabia are sweeter, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. But when you said delivery, what's different about delivery for your company compared to other date companies?
Sometimes about the time, and I think like more like instead of like 3 days or 2 days to get it like any state you want.
And what are the other companies?
Even from back home to here, we not use the airplane, and it's like cost a lot. That means sometimes the price is higher than in here.
So your price is higher or the competitor's
Their
price?
price is higher.
Your price is higher.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got price here and delivery on the other axis. So, do you deliver faster than the competition?
I think so.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so slow, fast, and this is low, high. So due dates is going to be high price and fast delivery.
Yeah. And this, even the it's free delivery.
Say again?
It's free.
Free delivery.
Yeah.
So the price of your dates are higher.
It's already like include everything.
Included in the price of the dates.
Yeah.
Okay. And then what's the name of one of your competitors?
Dots.
Huh?
Dots.
Dots?
Yeah.
DOTS?
DOUX.
No, that's your company.
Yeah.
What's the name of one of your What's the name of one of the competitors?
It's like different name. It's the same name. Like you meant the same name. They're like 3 projects. You got like security, and I think it's like security. It's easy one.
Is what?
Security.
How do you spell that?
Okay. A solid tumor, I don't know how to spell it. A solid tumor.
Solid
Yeah.
Dates.
Solid dates.
solid dates.
Yeah.
Okay. So they might have a little bit lower price than the
Yes.
dates than you,
Yeah.
but their delivery is slower.
Yeah.
Okay. So an example of a market positioning map. You could also have a map which has product selection or product features on it. You could have one that has differences in the resource bases between your company and another company. Anything that gives you the opportunity to put your company and your competitors in different places on the map. So that's the main idea behind market positioning maps. That's pretty much all I wanted to go over today. It's only been a little over half an hour, but I will give you guys the rest of the time off to work on your websites, and I will see you on Thursday.